V6WZ up at the remote QTH on a frosty January day. I'm just going to do a walk down the beverage wires because with this cold weather we get what we call hoar frost developed on the wires, and they stand out quite a bit better than during the summer. I'm at one of the corners of the QTH here of the location. You can see the frost. This is one of the parasitic antennas right in front of me. And these particular beverage wires, being proximal to the transmit antenna, do have interaction, and I have the ability to remove the detuning from the transmit array. And when I do that, you can hear the noise level increase noticeably on these beverage wires. The one going across is the east-west wire. This one above me is the northeast European wire. And this one traveling down this way is the north-south wire. I'm gonna go for a walk down the European wire in case someone's interested. This may prove to be a somewhat boring exercise, but I suppose you just turn the video off if you don't want to watch it. But just to have a sense of where the wires run here. This is an entirely forested area, many trees, and quite a bit of tree clearing was required to install these wires. You can see here I'm walking through some of the cleared area. This particular European wire is 1,000 feet long, pretty much exactly 330 meters or so long. All of my beverages are made from galvanized steel fence wire, electric fence wire. This is readily available from the farming community supply store, used for electric fencing to control livestock, and it's quite affordable. You buy, it's like a mile of it, or a quarter mile, I think, for quite affordable at 20 bucks or so a spool. So, and the insulators, you see, I just used the trees to, and this is also, these are electric fence insulators, you know, which are used for that purpose and very convenient. I screw them into the trees, and all of my wires are approximately 10 feet above the ground. Well, nominally 10. I mean, they might vary, but it would be approximately 10 feet. This is the crossing. This is my northwest wire, which goes to Japan. You can see the crossing is perhaps about a foot, 1 foot above the other. And it doesn't prove to be any problem. I'm going to follow along this wire. I got to go under a tree. Hang on. Continue going along. I was hoping you can see the wire here. Yeah. For the most part, the wires, I've endeavored to make sure that they're not in contact with branches too much. Occasionally there'll be some branch contact, but for the most part these branches are dry and dead, so at the lower level, so I don't think represent any kind of negative impact. You can see this is a sort of a cleared area continuing straight down. I have to walk around this larger tree. In another video I described how I have deployed my antenna analyzer to be remotely activated. Since I'm rarely at this location, I operate everything remote. I'm not here that often, and by using the analyzer I can select each beverage wire and I can do a sweep with the analyzer and measure all of the characteristics of the antenna, including the SWR and the phase and the impedance, and in so doing I can compare it to a file that I've saved to to see if a wire has been knocked down by a tree, because if a tree falls on the wire, the antenna sweep will be completely different. And therefore, using that method, I can just remotely determine if there's a problem that I need to come out and fix. And that's extremely handy. As I say, I have another video describing how I do that, and it might not be applicable or of use to too many others, but certainly in this instance it's really helpful, so that I can save the 100-kilometer drive, or it's about an hour-long drive for me to get to the remote here from my home QTH. So if I don't have to come out to inspect things, that's great. It's quite helpful. Speaking of trees coming down, and if a tree falls, when I get to this termination here in front of me, this is the end, you'll notice that I have a concrete block on a pulley system, so that if a tree falls on the wire, it'll lift this block and prevent the wire from breaking. So here is the termination. You can see there's a white insulator, and then a pulley, a marine grade pulley, and a concrete block, which will rise up in the case of a tree falling on the wire. And the terminating wire, you can see, is coiled here, which is done so that if the wire does extend because of a fallen tree, it won't break the termination. And in fact, the termination here is shown here under this. I just put a little flower pot on it, but in there, I won't pull the box off the top, but it's essentially a termination resistor, a 450 ohm resistor with a gas discharge tube across the resistor in order to prevent destroying the resistor if I get a lightning hit. And there's just one ground rod here, and that's on each termination, and largely that's been deemed adequate because of my antenna sweeps. The SWR seems pretty stable. And so there we are looking back. I'm now gonna make my way back up.